All right, making another video out here. Today I want to talk about, whoops, my tripod. Today I want to talk about being able to ground yourself in the small things, okay? We're so focused and we're so harped on the grand scheme of things, the bigger picture, which, that's kind of pushed and that's kind of meddled all over social media, especially Instagram, where you have that Instagram instant gratification of just constantly, well, I gotta fix my straps. Sorry, I feel like I'm wobbling here. It's like I gotta constantly want more. Because if you don't want more, then you miss the bigger picture. I think it's the opposite. I think it's the small things. I think it's being able to find the small things in life. Whatever it may be. Whatever it may be. Maybe you're working a very hard job at work. You're doing a very laborious job, very physically taxing, or maybe a very mentally taxing job. It might not even be the job. It might be the people that you work with that are just so taxing on you. But being able to just ground yourself in the small things of your day-to-day living and not ground yourself in those moments. If you're able to ground yourself in the small things, then you're able to find beauty in everything. Just kind of like how Jesus does. He finds the beauty in the ugly and the horrendous. He finds the love in the unlovable. He finds the excitement and the thrill and all that stuff in the most boring and mundane moments. He finds overall, he finds pain and suffering and sacrifice in meaning. He finds the meaning in pain and suffering and sacrifice. Because overall, if you really do focus on the bigger picture, man, you end up getting lost along the way. It's like that old saying, it's not about the destination, but it's about the friends that you made along the way. And man, I think that really is a testament to just enjoying the moments, enjoying the individual moments in life, in whatever it is that you're struggling with. Maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's your husband, maybe it's boyfriend, girlfriend, maybe it's your parents that are just so that can just be so hard to get along with. But man, if you're able to just find the small things in them that you enjoy and then let them know. Because if you let them know, then it's not just like a once in a lifetime opportunity. As I know, a lot of men tend to make it be like, and a lot of this kind of makes sense because that once in a lifetime confession towards maybe your brother in arms, towards your father, that man, I really do love you. I really do respect you so much. But if you're able to just maybe not even say that outright, but you're able to just say hey, I really like this part of you. As cringy as it might sound to a lot of guys, especially a lot of older men that, I know for sure. It's like, man, I gotta find small things that I like about my bros, about my friends. That's kind of sus. I don't mean it like that. I just mean I just mean finding the small things, Because man, guys especially are lacking in the compliment department from other guys. I don't think it used to always be like this either. Where guys are too afraid to speak out. I think it's been like this for the past few generations. But I don't think it has to be like this. Oh, I got a message. Whoa. Yeah, I don't think it has to be like this, I don't think it has to, and a lot of girls would say oh, well, it's the man's fault. Man, that's so easy to say. That's so easy to say in practice, but man, that is so hard to live out. Anyways, I don't want to play the the division game, because I feel like the truth often gets lost in the division game. The truth often gets lost in, playing division. I'll just say that. But man, like for guys, it can be literally anything, Like it doesn't have to be like you confess your love to your friend in an open crowd. But you know what it can be? It can be on like an individual basis. It can be like maybe you're spending like some one-on-one time with your bro, and you can say like, man, I think you really need to like get your act together. And I'm not saying this in a way for you to like take offense in. I'm not saying this in a way to let you know that you're less than, that you're inadequate. But I'm saying this in a way out of love for my brother. I'm saying this in a way that's out of like kindness and out of like, hey, I'm trying to look out for you, man. Like, I don't know if anyone's told you this, but you're capable of so much more. You ain't got to have this chip on your shoulder. You ain't got to pretend to be someone that you're not and end up more heartbroken than when you started. But man, you really can do it. Like you kind of be encouraging in that way, because encouragement for men, and like encouragement for men is so much different than encouragement for women, because encouragement for men, it's all about a respect thing, because it's like your character is on the line. Your pride is on the line. Pride, overrated, but I'll say your character is definitely on the line. Like you want your word to mean something. You want your word to mean something as a man, so then you aren't just brushed off. So then you aren't brushed off, and on top of that, you stand for something. You really do stand for something, and when you're a man of your word, then you can say that, when I say something, I mean it. You're in that way, you're able to have more honest conversations because people respect your word as a man. And man, being a man of your word has been lost in translation for the past few generations. Whether or not the older people would like to admit it, whether or not the millennials, whether or not the younger people would like to admit it. But it's been slowly degraded and lost through the past 3 generations. And I don't think it does any good to kind of harp on that, to kind of harp on whose fault it is, to do the finger pointing game. At the end of the day, that's not what Christ teaches. Christ doesn't teach to do the finger pointing game. Christ discerns the individual. He judges the individual. For us, our job is to forgive. Not saying to forgive and forget, but just to say like, hey, I understand, and I want to forgive you for that. Let's just, or not even that, just say like, hey, let's just set our differences aside and let's just kind of work on this together. Man, I kind of forgot where I was going with that, but I'm sure I was going somewhere, Just kind of learning to work together in that way, and in a way that's not divisive, in a way that's not so caught up in vices, in a way that you're not connected by anything tangible, but you're really connected by something spiritual, something that transcends your own understanding here on earth, and something that you can just say like, I don't know what it is, but I want to have faith in that thing that's connecting between me and you right now. Anyways, I think that's all I got to say. Anyways, God bless.